where you say in 2020, you skipped that name. Did you do so deliberately or was it inadvertent?
Lieutenant Colonel Moodley.
Just read that entire sentence then, please.
All right, Commissioner. In 2020, both Lieutenant Colonel Moodley and I temporarily transferred from financial investigation organized crime as part of a duty arrangement done by provincial management.
Investigation to organized crime. You again skipped the two. Thank you.
Okay.
Please continue. I think you started. Oh, sorry.
Before that, you say you were temporarily transferred from financial investigations to organized crime. And then what happens? You're there for how long? And after that, where do you go?
I was transferred from financial investigation to organized crime. While I was at organized crime, I applied for a post and I was promoted.
Okay. And this is the promotion to where now? Where do you go?
To organized crime now.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
This affidavit is made in response to the notice issued by the Commission in accordance with Rule 3.5 of its rules, dated 15 May 2026. The notice arises from a testimony and statement of General Hendrik Flynn concerning a drug seizure that occurred on the 22nd June 2021 at CSC Depot in Sipingo. I have read the notice and the accompanying extract from Major General Flynn's statement and testimony. I deny the allegation level against me. The affidavit would demonstrate that my involvement in the event of 2022, January 2021.
June.
I'm sorry about that, Commissioner. Can I start afresh? Just from there. I deny the allegation level against me. This affidavit demonstrates that my involvement in the event of 22 June 2021 was limited and restricted to what I was requested and instructed to do. Any allegation contained in this notice, it is attachments that is not specifically addressed and admitted herein, must be taken as denied. On the 22nd June 2021, Warrant Officer Mpangase requested me to assist him and Lieutenant Colonel Jacob to follow up on information concerning a possible drug bust. At the time, I was attached to DPCI unit focused on economic protected resources. Large-scale drug investigation were not my area of specialization or primary function. We proceeded to Phoenix to...
Sorry, can I just want to make sure that I have my timeline correct. So in June 2021, you are in economic, is that in organized crime as well?
Yes, Chair. Organized crime has got three components. It's SANAP, EPR, and NPVC.
Okay. So by that, on 22 June 2020, you already have been...
1st of September 2021.
Okay.
So June I was not yet promoted.
So in June, you are still under that temporary transfer?
Yes.
Is that what's happening?
Yes.
In June. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Colonel, maybe let me at this point, just so that we are here. Just to follow up on what Commissioner Baloyi is saying, in terms of your normal duties, what did those include?
My duties, I was an investigator at Economic Protected Resources, which deals with human trafficking, kidnappings, non-ferrous metal, theft of copper, theft of fuel. So those were the things that I was investigating at the time.
And in terms of narcotics, would that have been outside your duties?
Yes. Yes.
And prior to that, had you been involved in things relating to narcotics or operations relating to narcotics?
Yes, I was involved in some operations involved in narcotics.
Thank you. You may proceed.
We proceeded to Phoenix to fetch Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs using a state motor vehicle VW Golf 7 TDI with registration number that. We then proceeded to Durban, Isipingo, near the harbor. We met an African male who was introduced by Lieutenant Colonel Jacob as Captain Duma from Crime Intelligence Unit. Captain Duma addressed us, Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs and Warrant Officer Mpangase, and indicated that he has information from an informer about 27 bricks of pure cocaine stored inside the container at CSC depot. On the 14th Avenue East in prospecting, we followed Captain Duma to the depot. He was driving a charcoal Toyota Corolla. On arrival at the depot, we introduced ourselves and entered at the main gate. We continued following Captain Duma straight down the road. Lieutenant Colonel Jacob went to the management office. After some time, they came back with an Indian lady who was introduced as Mrs. Pillay, the manager of the depot. Lieutenant Colonel Jacob stated the reason of our visit. The container with serial number BEAU 5955535 was placed down for inspection, and the shipping the document were handed over to Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs. The doors of the container were inspected by Lieutenant Colonel Jacob. The seal was intact with seal number that. The seal was broken by an employee of the depot in the presence of the management of the depot, DPCI members, Captain Duma of CI, ORS members, and depot security members. When the doors were open, we noticed inside the container black canvas bags with tape placed next to the door and some on top of the white sacks. When these bags were inspected inside them, we were all shocked and surprised by the quantity of drugs found. They contained bricks of suspected cocaine wrapped in black and yellow tape, some written Jaguar and TikTok packages with approximately 1 kilogram per brick. The space was limited for us to work as the machinery was moving up and down. It was also risky for the members and the exhibit due to the number of bystanders who were observing the activities. Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs informed us that we should proceed to Ispingo, SAPS he requested members from ORS Durban Harbour to assist. All the 27 black bags were loaded into the ORS marked vehicle, a Hyundai H1 driven by Sergeant Govender and his crew, Sergeant Kiza. I drove behind the H1 and never lost sight of them to the police station. On arrival at the police station, we parked the vehicles on the parking lot. Warrant Officer Perumal of SAP 13 was called to the parking and he started to offload the bags. All the bags, placed them on the floor. We started placing exhibit on the ground and started counting. The total number of the bricks from the 27 bags was 541 bricks, suspected cocaine. All the exhibit were entered in the Isipingo SAP 13 373 of 2021 by Warrant Officer Mpangase and booked them out. While at the Isipingo SAPS, as we were busy unpacking and counting, I heard the SAP 13 clerk, Warrant Officer Peruman, talking to Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, stating that they do not have space to store these drugs. Warrant Officer Mpangase requested for the exhibit back from Warrant Officer Peruman. However, Peruman indicated that he did not have any forensic bags. Warrant Officer Mpangase requested that I must go and request for the bags at the church office. I went to request for the bags at the church office. Members indicated that they do not have forensic bags. Lieutenant Colonel Jacobs indicated that he has informed Brigadier Nyuswa about the issue of unavailability of storage at Isipingo SAPS. After some time, Lieutenant Jacob informed us that the exhibit will be kept at Port Shepstone Organized Crime Unit, walk-in safe. Members from our office and tracing team were on their way to give backup on the escort. Lieutenant Jacob handed over to Warrant Officer Mpangase and left Isipingo SAPS and to proceed with his vacational leave. The members arrived shortly and Warrant Officer Mpangase briefed them, and the exhibits were loaded in the Hyundai H1 and Nissan X-Trail and PVC vehicles. We departed from Isipingo SAPS and proceeded straight to Port Shepstone Organized Crime Unit. On arrival at Port Shepstone Organized Crime, we met General Senona, Brigadier Nyuswa, the acting unit commander of Port Shepstone, and other members. We offloaded the exhibit from the two vehicles and placed them inside the walk-in safe. The acting unit commander locked the safe, handed over the keys to Warrant Officer Mpangase, who checked the safe door and took the keys. He handed the keys to General Senona at the entrance, at the main entrance. We drove back to Durban with the rest of the team.
Sorry, Colonel. Can I just ask one thing? When you say you met General Senona and Brigadier Nyuswa, just before I forget, were they already at the Port Shepstone offices, or you arrived at the same time, or they arrived thereafter?
We arrived at the same time.
At the same time?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
On the 23rd June 2021 in the morning, I was informed by Warrant Officer Mpangase that we needed to go to Port Shepstone to place the exhibit inside the forensic bags. We then went to provincial office to collect the keys. We remained in the vehicle since there was no parking, and Warrant Officer Mpangase picked up the keys. We then proceeded straight to Port Shepstone with other members from Durban office, SANEP, and tracking team. Upon arrival at organized crime offices, we met with the acting unit commander, Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo, and Warrant Officer Van der Berg from Port Shepstone Soki. Members from Durban's Soki SANEP were also present: Captain B.T. Ntanzi, Captain C.M. Fries, Sergeant Kumete, and members from tracking team. I don't know their names. The exhibit were recounted and sealed in the exhibit bags. We departed to Durban, traveling on the state motor vehicle BSG 056B. It was myself, Detective Warrant Officer Mpangase, and Sergeant Kumete. On the 24th June 2021 in the morning, Warrant Officer Mpangase came to my office and indicated that we needed to go back to Port Shepstone to obtain the samples and book the exhibit in the SCP-13. We then left the Durban office to provincial office. We parked on the road with Sergeant Kumete while Warrant Officer Mpangase went up to collect the keys. He came back. We proceeded to Port Shepstone DPCI. On arrival, members from the Port Shepstone DPCI Soki, Detective Warrant Officer Van der Berg, and another member, I don't know his name, were waiting for us at the entrance towards the walk-in safe. The safe was opened by Warrant Officer Mpangase in their presence, and he took the sample from the exhibits, and we went to Port Shepstone SAPS with Warrant Officer Mkomo from Port Shepstone Organized Crime, or SOKI, and the exhibit were entered in the Port Shepstone SAPS 138H9 of 2021 by Warrant Officer Mpangase, and he also booked them out. We then left and proceeded to Port Shepstone DPCI to drop off Warrant Officer Mkomo and proceeded straight to Durban Provincial Office. Warrant Officer Mpangase left us in the vehicle and by the road to hand back the safe keys, as there was no parking around the area. I don't remember the date, but Warrant Officer Mpangase handed over to me 5 samples and an inquiry file to hand it over to Lieutenant Colonel Jacob on the following day. On the following day, I handed over the sample and inquiry to Lieutenant Colonel Jacob as requested. On the 1st July 2021, I was requested by Lieutenant Colonel Jacob to go with him and Warrant Officer Mpangase to CSC depot to do an unpack on the container. We proceeded there. We conducted a count of a total of 5,395 bags of 50 kg bags of the animal feed. This corresponded with the packing list. The container was resealed. The container was released to the clearing agent by Lieutenant Colonel Jacob. Response to the allegation in the notice. I will now respond directly to the specific allegations as set out in the notice. 80 paragraph 1.1.1, failure to cordon off the crime scene. I deny that I failed to cordon off the crime scene. Paragraph 11 of 3A of National Instruction 1/2015 places the duty to secure and protect the crime scene by establishing an inner and outer cordon squarely on the first responder. 20.1.3, as stated above, I was not the first responder. Warrant Officer Mpangase received the initial information, and Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, as the senior officer, assumed command. The responsibility to make the initial scene safe and to establish a cordon thereof rested with them and subsequently with Lieutenant Colonel Jacob as the crime scene commander. I was acting under their command and was never instructed to perform this function, nor it will have been within my mandate to do so without such an instruction. Paragraph 1.1.2, failure to ensure exhibits were properly sealed and labeled. I dare that I failed to ensure that the exhibits were sealed and labeled. Paragraph 14.3c4 of the National Instruction 1/2015 stipulates that the crime scene supervisor from the local criminal record center, LCRC, is responsible for ensuring that all the evidence collected is logged and handled correctly, included being sealed at the crime scene where practically possible. Furthermore, SAPS National Instruction 8 of 2017, Property and Exhibit Management, National Instruction 8 2017 at paragraph 14.8 A7 and 9 requires that drugs be sealed in forensic evidence collection bags and that this must be done in the presence of the suspect. The decision not to process the scene at the CHC depot and consequently not to call the LCC was taken by the crime scene commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, due to the circumstances defined above, on the unusual scene at the depot and the risk thereof. Paragraph 1.3, failure to call the local criminal record center. I deny that I failed to call the RCRC. Paragraph 13.2F of National Instruction 1/2015 is unequivocal. The crime scene commander must take immediate responsibility in requesting that a crime scene examiner from the LCRC attend the crime scene for processing. I was a subordinate officer acting under his command and had no authority to make such a call. Paragraph 1.4, failure to transfer exhibit to the forensic laboratory.
Sorry, 1.1.4, not 1.4.
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 1.1.4, failure to transfer the exhibit to the forensic laboratory, FSL. I deny this allegation. My involvement with the exhibit non-existent beyond being present at their discovery. The responsibility for the submission of exhibit to the FSL is clearly delineated in the national instruction. Delineated in the national instruction. Paragraph 20.4.2, 15.3F of the national instruction places the duty on the investigating officer who must ensure submission within 7 working days. Paragraph 20.4.3, similarly, paragraph 8.3 of the National Instruction 8/2017 places the responsibility of the station commander, SAPS, SAP 13 official, and the detective commander. I held none of their designated roles. My mandate did not extend to the handling, storage, registration in the SAP 13 register, or subsequently transferred of exhibits. Once the exhibits were removed from the scene under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, my involvement ceased as I was the additional member in this scene. The chain of custody and responsibility to transfer to the FSL passed to the investigating officer and the commander of the unit where the exhibit was stored. Paragraph 1.2, serious allegation in the strongest possible term.
Deny.
Sorry,
I thought
Chair.
you said dare or something like that.
I deny.
Deny, yes.
Yes. I deny this serious allegation in the strongest possible term. I was not part of any scheme, nor did I engage in any process designed to make the exhibit vulnerable to theft. My conduct was at all time bona fide, authentic. I was following the lawful instruction of senior. The decision which Major General Flynn retrospectively identified as created vulnerability were not my decision. These include the decision not to process the crime scene at the depot, the decision not to call the RCRC, the decision not to store the exhibit at the police station of jurisdiction, namely Sipingo, and the decision to transport the exhibit to the DPCI premises in Port Shepstone was the senior management decision. The above-mentioned operational decision made solely by the command structure of the scene, namely Lieutenant Jacob and Warren Sampangas. I can confirm that I was present on this scene and give the overwhelming and significant scope of the seizure and the complexity circumstances at the CSC depot. I would have processed the crime scene in the comparable manner. My actions were limited, transparent, consistent with the duties of the subordinate officer, mainly providing support and manpower. There is no factual basis to suggest I was a party to the design or coincided that Major General Flynn alleges. I wish to inform the Commission of my strong commitment to policing. Having served diligently in the force for the past 2 decades with pride, I categorically state that I was not involved in the theft of these exhibits. Additionally,